Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first round of the ETS World Championships, Day 1. This is a 4-day tournament, so we're going to have lots of action for you today, and we've got a full 9 rounds of round-robin action starting off for you today. I'm aReNGee, and I'm going to be one of the casters for you today, and sort of the mastermind behind this whole ETS thing. And joining me in the casting booth today is Seek Power Gaming's Bradykin. Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm very excited to see how everybody does today. It's my first time back in the casting booth in some time since ETS Team League back in October. So, very excited to get down into it and see how all these great players are going to be navigating through your matches. We've got a big broadcast schedule set up to make sure that we catch all 16 of the world's players that we have on day 1. We're going to be starting off in round 1 with IlyaK. The renowned, very vocal IlyaK against streamer fan favorite LocoPojo. Let's take a little bit to look at the lists. IlyaK is on a Stone Scar Rally deck, whereas LocoPojo is playing a Hoobroo Flyers list, which isn't something we've usually seen. Yeah, we've got some lesser seen cards for sure in Pojo's list. I'm not sure who's exactly we have up on stage, but we have a wild Cloud Snake sighting at Worlds, and that's not a card that a lot of people play. It's a little 1/1 flyer for 2 that gets +1/+1 every time you play another flyer. But that's not going to match up too well against all the 1/1 Grenadin tokens that are going to be coming in as early as turn 1 or turn 2.
Yes, sorry, we were just sorting out a brief audio thing. Sorry, just take it for a moment while I sort this out.
You're muted in Discord, I believe. All right, so sorry about that. Yeah. So Pojo's Hoobroo Flyer list relies on sort of sticking a single flyer, and then it goes with this with the general attachment plan that you've seen on a lot of Hoobroo Aegis lists in the past. Rather than going with the more common Hammer of Might, here we see the interesting Peacekeeper's Prod, which is a 3/2 weapon for 4 that stuns a unit when it comes into play, so it's very good at keeping your units attacking. We're also playing 4 copies of Cloud Snake Saddle, which give the same +3/+3 that Hammer of Might would do, but for only 2 power. So, a nice aggressive strategy, but one that doesn't really come into full form until the 3rd or 4th turn, and that's not going to do too well against IlyaK's Rally list, which gets off on turn 1. We're talking, I think that's a full 21 drops, so he's always going to have a turn 1 play. Plenty of removal with Instigators and the Rapid Shots to attack through everything. Cinder Yetis to stop blocks, Assembly Line to keep going, and then just Rallies and Bandit Queens to push it home. There's going to be a lot of aggression coming LocoPojo's way, and he doesn't have anything in the way of lifesteal or, multiple units or anything like that to block it. So if IlyaK's deck doesn't kill itself, as these rally decks tend to do when they mulligan into too much power and then draw power off the top, Pojo's going to have a tough time staying ahead of the aggression.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see how Pojo does in later games in the day, because this is a very interesting list. I actually like this style of equipment focus that's really good for continuing to swing past things, even if there's a Sandstorm Titan on the field. But as you were saying, it all just is going to likely take too long to assemble versus Ilya. Now, I am also looking at his sideboard now. I do find the Finest Hours interesting. I think those have the potential to be useful in this matchup as something to swap in to make some of his early things like the Eager Owlets a little better at doing their job and to add more damage to the race. Because this matchup really is going to come down to a race. There's not going to be a lot of blocking here.
Speaking
There's
of...
going to be some, but...
Yeah. Well, neither deck is really set up to play very well from the defensive and doesn't have the tools to do that. Now, another very interesting card that we see here is the Draft All-Star Skyrider Vanguard in LocoPojo's list. As we go completely deep on the Flyers theme, it's very similar to Rally in that it is a 2/1 that gives all of your units, or all your flying units, +1 attack permanently. The only problem is that it requires Spark in order to actually trigger. It's not a summon, so it's a little bit slower than Rally, and that's probably going to make it not the pick here.
Yeah, but I'm not entirely sure what matchup Loco is looking to use those in. I don't think it's this one, mainly because this kind of deck doesn't have any ways of proccing the Spark before swinging. That's just not in the cards. That's not very easy in this color set. So this is going to be a post-combat thing, meaning it didn't lend any damage to that turn. So if his plan is to try and race the Rally player, then I don't think the Vanguards are actually going to do enough in that. I imagine this card is more for decks without Harsh Rule that he wants to bring in that aren't quite as fast as Stone Scar Rally, where he just wants to try and keep buffing his damage in the air and just overwhelm.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if it pans out, exactly as we're predicting. We're expecting some fast aggression and IlyaK to do well, but these rally decks can always stumble, so it depends a lot on the draws. I think the players are ready, so we're going to be getting down into game here. And yes, I think they can hear you now, hopefully. All right, players have chosen their moles, and we are down to the game. If not, it's going to be a mysterious solo cast with some Ghost Protocol in the background.
Yeah, well, hopefully I can be heard, because otherwise that's going to come off really strange. Anyways, I agree with Ilya's decision to maul that hand. While it's very tempting to keep a hand that aggressive, you're really relying on drawing power and quickly, and it was too big a hand to gamble on. This hand is perfectly serviceable for him. It's a little higher land count than he would like, but it's got a strong 1-2-3 curve.
Yeah, and Pojo's faced with an interesting decision as early as turn 2. He's drawn 2 blanks in the Rider and the Vanquish, but he has to decide between playing the Cloud Snake earlier, which won't be able to block the 2/2, or the Eager Owlet, and he decides he wants to get the Cloud Snake trigger earlier on. Although it looks like he's going to be able to play the Cloud Snake Rider. Harrier, sorry. These card names are all messed up.
I agree with him playing the Cloud Snake on that early turn. If he doesn't play it there, it's not going to be a relevant card, and he's going to need it. And yes, it's kind of hard to remember the name of cards that we don't usually see in the constructed format, because the Flyers archetype has a lot of cards that are only used in Flyers. So, like, with the exception of the Vanquish, none of the cards Pojo has drawn is a standard for the ETS.
Yes, that card also used to have a different name and used to be an Elysian card, as I am an old-timer, and these things always mess me up. IlyaK getting a torch in here, choosing to spend his removal turn rather than deploying one of his assembly lines. Pushes in for 6 damage. He's definitely got the race advantage here. I think throughout the entirety of the match, as we see a bit of a sequencing error here with that that post-combat second flyer to buff the Cloud Snake.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything he was trying to play around there. Nothing's coming to mind that was actually a risk into a second torch.
Yeah.
But doesn't matter too much, hopefully. Hopefully that 2 damage won't cause him any trouble. Now Pojo is given an interesting question about blocking.
Well, looks like he's just decided, no, not for him.
Yeah. I can understand that decision. He's just in full race mode here. He now has lethal in the air, even through removing one of his creatures. And now the question is, can Ilya reverse kill?
I think he's dead to Rally plus Rapid Shot, yes.
Yeah, I'm just doing the quick math. Yes, he is. And anyways, that's the exciting style that this matchup's going to be.
Yeah.
Just run past each other.
Drew lots of action, was able to make use of it, And it's 13 plus 1.
Yeah. Would I be correct to say that at no point there did a creature block? I don't think a creature blocked that whole game.
At the
I think
end
there's-
there, the Harrier blocked the Instigator.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
But,
so unfortunately we won't get an entire match with no blocks then, because that would be very entertaining. So, moving to the sideboards now, IlyaK has some strong choices. He has the Suffocates and Annihilates and potentially the Madnesses. I think all of those are solid choices to bring into this matchup.
especially in a racing matchup, yeah.
I'm trying to think what he would take out, and I think there's a potential for him to take out the Cinder Yetis, because no one's really trying to block anyways. They're not terrible, but they're not the best. I think he's definitely taking out the Shadowlands Guide. Again, if nobody blocks, his 1-drops don't die.
Mm-hmm. Annihilates,
and I think
Annihilates are going to be good. The Suffocates, I don't think you need the Madness, because you're not.
I don't know
really
if you need
comboing
them.
it with anything, and since nobody's trying to block, right? So you don't really care about removing the blockers. So probably just 3 Cinder Yetis, 1 Shadowlands Guide for some combination of Suffocates and Annihilates, just to push your damage through.
Yeah, that seems like a respectable choice. I was wondering if he would trim the Bandit Queens, as they're pretty slow, but he makes it to turn 4 in these matchups, so they'll be used. Right. Now, looking at Pojo's side, this brings some interesting questions, because there's definitely a lot I want to board out in his list, but there's not a ton I actually want to board in. Like, he wants the Lightning Strikes, I think.
Alright, so we're doing the bad casters thing where we're looking at deck lists and the game's already on. They already know what they're doing.
My
they prepped us out. We're already on like turn 3. Alright, apologies to the chat here. We're just getting warmed up this morning. IlyaK has his Suffocating. He's in full force here with 3 units to Pojo's 0.
Yeah, Pojo's dealing with some influence problems. And the double Instigator with removal spells, that is terrifying.
The old draw your Diplomatic Seal after you already have 3 influence problem. The Cloud Snake can trade with a 2/1. That's got to be good, right?
Oh, no. Never mind. There's a torch.
IlyaK draws the torch. And I think Pojo's just dead. He doesn't have anything...
yeah, there's no sequence of draws that will turn this around, unless he brought in some harsh rolls without us noticing.
Okay. I'm glad we came in when we did. Otherwise, we would have missed the whole match speculating about sideboard. We did think that this was IlyaK favored, and it turns out it is pretty IlyaK favored. So he'll go up to be our first player to take down a match at this particular event, and we will be cutting to backup match after a interview with one of our players. I don't think we have IlyaK's ready to go yet, so I think we're cutting to Sirius's. Who will we going to? Not just yet, no. All right, so a little bit of confusion about our backup match. We'll be going to a short break for the casters, but should have an interview up on screen for you guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the first round of the ETS World Championships. We are jumping live into the middle of a match. Our backup match is Tobboo versus LoveUP. Tobboo is actually up one game, and this is the middle of game 2. As we do not yet have LoveUp's perspective here, but we are staring down at a kind of a contested board. Tobboo's sitting with a crystallize in hand and a bunch of Yetis and just itching to get through for damage, but LoveUp has previously deployed a stand together and is not going to be going down so easily.
Yeah, this is a very interesting board because the players have very different kinds of advantages here. LoveUp has double Seraphs at 8 mana with Aegis. That is just fantastic. Tobboo has the Crystallize available if he can draw a second one or catch LoveUP with too many of his Aegis minions exhausted. It could potentially allow a swing. He also has the only ability to fly on this board. He has the ability to ult the Kothon this turn, which will give him 2 flyers, and LoveUP currently has no answer to that. So this is going to be an interesting match to see who can answer the other person's major threats.
As we see a sequencing error from Tobboo, potentially. He could have gone Seek Power, Initiate, Kothon ult, and smacked in for 4.
I mean, there is an argument to be made there. Tobboo might be trying to hide the fact that he could stealth upgrade the Xenon Obelisk to 8 power. He could not have done that this turn, so the more I'm thinking about it, I actually don't mind concealing the Seek Power, because LoveUp is not going to be thinking about that Obelisk going to +2/+2 next turn. So I actually think that was on purpose.
Yeah, it's possible. It does constrain his power a bit, as he won't be able to like crystallize plus something else.
Yeah, it does still allow him to play out his whole hand. He can still Seek Power into Initiate Crystallize. Now, it doesn't allow something else he draws he could be 1 mana short for it. So there's definitely trade-offs. But I can see the argument for concealing it there. Now, what it doesn't do is increase Tobboo's clock. He's got a 3-turn clock in the air regardless. So LoveUp has roughly that many turns to find an answer to this.
Now, what it would have done is made his blocks against Surso a lot cleaner, as 2 pigs would have been able to trade against Surso with the buffed up Obelisk in play. And here we see a bit of a flying stone wall.
Yeah, there's one potential answer. Now,
Dragon.
It wouldn't have helped his blocks this turn, because what he didn't have the mana to do was Seek Power, Initiate, Ult Kothon. That wasn't on the cards. So he wouldn't have had the buffed Obelisk this turn, he still would only have it buffed next turn.
Okay, I'm just going to assume you're correct.
So LoveUp is considering attacking with that Surso. He opts to hold it back, as it would just trade with a couple of Yetis. But now Tobboo's in trouble. Every turn that he's stalled out by that Nyctotraxion, this gets worse and worse, because the Seraphs will just keep rolling. And unless he wants to try and crystallize through it right now, which is what he seems to be going for.
Yeah, I think you do. The 3/2s are going to trade. He's going to throw a Surso in front, or a Seraph in front of one of your Yetis, and you're going to get in for
a fair amount of damage.
Strong suit 17.
17. Yeah, 17.
And then
this is a pretty good. This is a pretty good crystallize.
So despite that good roll, he's still going to get in for a lot of damage.
Yeah, and this is a pretty safe attack, because both players are tapped out. No one's pulling a trick here. There's no stand-togethers coming in. This is just everyone knows what's about to go down. So Tobboo's going to draw a single card, which is just a power. And now LoveUp needs to find an answer to this. And I'm not, off the top of my head, sure what he could find.
I mean, he can roll like a Sandstorm Titan or something off a Seraph, even if he doesn't have a Vanquish or anything like that in hand. Looking at LoveUp's list, Permafrost is good for him. He's got Vanquish, Crystallize of his own, Predatory Carnosaur. So he's got a bunch of cards that he can play.
Yeah, but if his hand is 2 1-for-1 answers, he still dies. So that's not a route he can take. So he didn't use his power. So he's either bluffing something, or he must have some instant interaction. Looking through his list right now, my guess is that he's looking at a Desert Marshal, but that still doesn't save him.
I think that's the only thing that he could have here.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a stand together, but there's no reason he'd hold it up in this scenario.
No.
The Desert Marshal, if Tobboo had been hesitant... Actually, the Desert Marshal still doesn't handle the flyer issue. So, yeah, it just looks like Tobboo is going to take this game.
You just don't have enough units.
Yeah. And that is going to be the game, 2-0 to Tobboo.
Okay, so Tobboo takes down the mirror in round one in a fairly convincing fashion. We thought he might have been a little bit too conservative with the crystallize, but he ends up building up his board and using it to win him the game anyhow. So congratulations to him. Looking at our other results for this round, we had Kamato take down Unearthly in round one. Lights Out Ace won the Madison Brawl against his friend Kampfkroat. Sunnyvale took down Hythar 2-0, and Child Roland smashed Toth with another 2-0 there. We saw IlyaK beat Pojo 2-0. Sarius took down Moosh in another Time Justice Primal Mirror. And finally, Angry Chicken is up 2-0 over Sir Rhino.
Yeah, and that will conclude our round one. Everyone stay tuned for the next round as we have a very exciting feature match. We are going into Angry Chicken versus Unearthly.
Yeah, should be good. So we'll be going to a quick break here, and we will be back with round two.